Hi everyone, welcome back to the TS12 podcast. Hi Maricarmen.
Hello, are you all right, Vic?
I'm good, thanks.
Hello,
How are you
everyone.
today?
I'm all right, yeah, I'm good.
Good.
So today on the TS12 podcast, Exercise and Wellbeing Explored, we will be discussing what makes you a runner, or in our case, a bodybuilder or a netballer. So when do you finally say those words? Is it after 10 years, 2 weeks, or never of starting whatever exercise it is that you're doing or whatever sport that you're doing? So when do you commit to that, basically? And how does that change things? So we're going to move on to that as our main feature, but first of all, we'll have a catch up. So how are you, Vic?
I'm very good. I've had a good week since we last spoke. So I've been just doing all the usual teaching online classes, kind of, waiting on this announcement, wondering what's next in lockdown.
Yeah, it's a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Yeah, it
because
is.
the speculation around what's going to actually become of it anyway. Yeah.
I know. That's a whole other podcast, isn't it? I've actually been forgetting it's been a bank holiday because obviously the days just kind of feel the same.
Yeah.
So we haven't really done anything special today for VE Day, which maybe we should have done. I don't know. We kind of forgot what was coming. And then later on tonight, I'm at a Zoom party with some of my friends from netball for someone's birthday. So
Nice. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Oh,
What
it'd
about
be
you?
nice to catch up. Yeah, well, it's obviously VE Day today, as we record this. We knew a lot about what was going on today, but I didn't realise it was a bank holiday for some reason. So, yeah, I was very excited. On our way back from our walk, just as we were about to start homeschool, I checked online and there was no homeschool. So I was like, oh my God, brilliant. Don't have to do that. So, yeah, it's been a really nice week. Dean was off a couple of days at the beginning of the week. And then we went for some really lovely walks, like really nice. We kind of went for a little bit of a drive, just 10 minutes up the road, because you're allowed to, aren't you, to drive to where you're going to walk. So we went on some lovely walks. Me and the boys have been on some lovely walks together. And I've just been trying to rein it in a bit, trying to not drink so much, although I've come on here with a gin and tonic today because of my day.
Well, it is a bank holiday after all.
Yeah, totally. I was supposed to train today as well, which I haven't because my day's just been a bit mental. And yeah, just trying to kind of create our new normal. And well, it'll probably change by next Sunday. But we said last week, didn't we? If some things change in the week, we might not be able to talk about what we want to talk about. And nothing's really changed. So yeah, I've just been trying not to be too lazy, get back into exercise, get back into eating a bit healthier, reducing my alcohol, and then failing at parenting, which I will tell you about later.
Ooh.
I'm sure you're so excited.
Okay, so that kind of takes us into you've already explained a little bit, haven't you, about what we're going to talk about today on today's podcast, which is kind of what makes you, air quotes, if you're listening on the podcast,
Good
a
shout.
runner or a netballer or a bodybuilder or whatever it is that you do. At what point do you feel that you kind of are allowed to call yourself it?
Well, it's really interesting. When I was thinking about this, I was writing all my bullet points down and of what I wanted to talk about and what we were going to discuss. And when I wrote them down, I was like, these are just questions which I'm asking. I'm not exactly like answering anything. And so I'm glad that the podcast is called Exercise and Wellbeing Explored, because I think for me, it's just a case of explore. I'm hoping you're maybe going to give us some answers, Vic.
I was hoping you were going to give us some answers.
So, yeah, the questions that whole thing, it's hard to, there's got to be a lot of people that are starting running now or starting doing exercise. And at what point do they say, yeah, I train? Yeah, like at what point did you say, yeah, I'm a netballer? At what point did I say, yeah, I do bodybuilding? I can't even say it still now because it just feels like wrong to say it.
Oh, but you did it, and like you are, and I know what you mean though, and obviously that's why kind of we're discussing it now. And I know kind of one of the points that you'd thought about was, if it's not ingrained since school, does it mean that kind of you're not allowed to go into something else? So if you kind of were asking me about netball, like when did you feel like, you're right, because I think when you do something from such a young age, I was 11 when I started at school, it just happens and you don't think about it. And sometimes maybe other people do it for you as well. And then you just kind of go along with the flow. And I think you're right. I think when you're an adult and you start something new, it is a little bit tricky, or to actually be able to say to yourself, like, I am this, or I do this, and without
Whereas
feeling
when it's
like
ingrained from school, it's kind of a bit easier because you've always just been Vicky who does netball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. It does just make it a little bit easier.
I don't know whether it's if you embrace the community as well. So obviously there's a big running community, and if you're kind of part of the local running group, our local running group, like if you're part of that, then does that make you more of an athlete, or do you know what I mean?
I'd never thought about it from that perspective, and I think that's really interesting, because when you add community to it and you have other people who are calling themselves, let's go with runner, so I'm a runner, and maybe you might kind of think, oh, well, they call themselves a runner, and actually I run more than they do. Not that, there's a right or there's a wrong, but because they call themselves it, that might give you a little bit of confidence to then say, oh, well, if she is or he is, like, I must be as well.
I'll tell you what's more of a kind of common one, which people actually don't mind kind of labelling, if that's what we're kind of calling it, labelling yourself as that. Yogis, people who practice yoga, and that's almost like, it's not an embarrassing thing calling yourself a yogi, and you could almost call yourself a yogi if you've just done 10 minutes once a week. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of something that you do commit to. But why are some sports, why are some different to others? And I think that's why with bodybuilding, I think a lot of it was because the community is so different, and it's, I suppose people, I keep saying I suppose, I'm sorry, people portray themselves differently for that sport almost, and it's not maybe a team sport as much, although it is. It's a really good community and it's a brilliant community to be part of. But everyone's kind of showing how they're progressing more in your face than say yoga or Pilates or a runner, maybe runner not so much, because a lot of people, there's a lot of platforms out there which we can share our running successes and stuff. But it's just an interesting thing to look at. When do you do it? And from a business point of view, I definitely found that the moment that I started committing to saying that I was a personal trainer, because I haven't been doing personal training all my life. And at first, when I was just training to do it, it took a long time for me to say, yeah, I'm a personal trainer, and kind of have that air of confidence about me. It took a lot of time with clients and progressing with clients and seeing them progress. But once I did, it almost made me who I was, and therefore I wouldn't say I was better, because I feel like I've always given my best to my clients, but it enabled me to have more work, to be more confident in my job, and to be more confident around my clients. So it's kind of that thing is, if you do commit to it, are you going to be more successful at doing it, whatever it may be?
Yeah, almost like, fake it until you make it sort of thing. Yeah.
Totally.
And then, you see, you start off and you don't really feel like you know what you're doing, but you kind of, in a way, you almost convince the brain to think that you do know what you're doing. And then before you know it, you do know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when we're speaking about self-confidence, so it reminds me of something called imposter syndrome. I don't know if you've heard of that before. So it's where I think it must be some kind of psychological syndrome or category or something, and it's where you doubt yourself and your success or your efforts because you don't feel like they're fully deserved.
Yeah.
So it's a fear of being exposed as a fraud. And I think at some point in our lives, almost all of us could relate to this.
Totally.
But I think it can become a problem if it happens with everything that you do. So if everything that you're doing is coming from that place of feeling like an imposter, this is luck that I got here,
yeah,
or
self-doubt,
then I think that's where it can become a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I think parenting, one thing is that you just never think you've got it. I mean, God, my day to day, I've definitely not got a hang of it, but it's it's that confidence that you get from not thinking that you're an imposter, isn't it? That's a really kind of, I think committing to it and saying the words will make you more successful and almost more valued within what you're doing, and you'll have more value for it, I think, because at the end of the day, like, no one's going to be like, if you say to someone, oh, I'm a runner, no one's going to be like, are you though? Like, I'm like, are you? Like, if you ran marathons, well, maybe people will be like that though, I don't know. Maybe that's why people don't say it. But, yeah, I'm a runner, I run like a mile a week. But,
it might be, and I wonder if, like, it's so I think the community thing that you touched on before is like really important, because I think when you do feel part of a community, you feel safe and you feel safer to express yourself, and you're surrounded by more like-minded people. But when you said about kind of yogis and compared to runners, like, I wonder if it's a competition thing. Do you think, like, the higher the level of it, the less inclined you feel to say that you are, because you think, oh well, you know, there's no, I mean, is there a professional yogi? If you work as a yoga teacher, are you a professional yogi? Do you know what I mean? But there's no levels of where you are, where it's quite easy with, I think, running to, you know, you get a time for this race or you get a time for this race.
But it's funny, how extreme do you have to go? Like, when I was competing for bikini, I never felt like I was a, air quote, bikini bodybuilder, because I never had that much muscle mass compared to other girls. But like, at what point, how much better did I need to be before I was saying, yeah, this is who I am, or this is what I do? And it's still,
because you were competing, so you were a
do you know what, as well, what I think adds to it is that I chose to compete. I wasn't pushed into competing by a coach who said, you're really good. It was like, I chose to do it because I wanted to do it, and not because I was necessarily good at it. Like, to be honest, I didn't really care if I was good at it. But I think in thinking this way, it does kind of belittle our achievements as well, because I came third place in my first competition. It was a good lineup of like 10 girls. And I think by not kind of embracing that label, it did belittle my achievement. And what was even worse was when I wasn't successful, and when I kind of failed my British finals and my competition afterwards, because I wasn't at the top of my game like I was for my first competition, I felt even more out of it. Like, well, yeah, this just proves that I didn't belong. And I sound like I'm like trying to cry about it, but I'm not sad. Like, things like that don't bother me that much.
But it's good though, because I think loads of people can relate to it, to things that they're doing or have done in the past. And
I thought about the main thing in terms of our industry, fat loss, and how how that can be affected as well. Because if you say lost 2 pounds in 1 week, then you're successful of body fat. You're successful at losing body fat. Whereas if you're going to wait and not commit to saying, yeah, I'm doing well at dieting, if you're going to wait until you're at your end goal, then is that going to affect your kind of ability to carry on and your mental strength when you're trying to achieve that? Like, do you have to wait till the end goal just to prove that that's what you're doing and you're good at it? Like, I think saying that you're in it, committing to that and saying, yeah, right now this is where I'm at, this is my goal, because obviously goals really help as well. I think that does make you more successful. And I think, like, surely you don't know a netballer that's still like on the fence, like, well, I wouldn't say I'm a netballer because, you know, do you know what I mean? Like, you'd be like, oh, wait, man.
yeah, absolutely. And I think you've just like hit the nail on the head there, and also like linking into what I was going to talk about next, a little bit of sociology. I'm going to sound like a teacher next reading this out.
We need you, Vic, because I've got nothing like that.
But yeah, so you've said that you were actually like, you were competing, you know, you did well in your competition, but you still, something was like holding you back from calling yourself that. But like, if you were in that community and other people were saying, oh yeah, Maricarmen, she's a bikini bodybuilder, that like, would that might have made a difference to you, because other people would have called you that and embraced you as that like label almost.
Yeah.
And then you might have in your mind thought, oh, I am, yeah, because I've competed, I've done well in my competition and I've trained. And I find this whole thing really interesting. So shall I tell you a little bit about this labelling theory
Go
then?
for it.
Okay. I'll try not to sound too much like a teacher.
I love it.
So it's called labelling theory, and it stems from sociology. So it was coined in 1963 by somebody called Howard Becker, and on a basic level, it just takes the view that self-identity and the behaviour of individuals may be determined or influenced by the terms used to classify them, i.e. kind of what they are called or what they're labelled as. So it's associated with the concepts of self-fulfilling prophecy, which most people probably would have heard of.
Vic, I'm sorry to just put in there, but I love self-fulfilling prophecy because you taught me all about it. I live my life like it now. I love it.
I can remember us talking about that in your
it's changed my life.
Your garage. And stereotyping also. And the actual kind of the theory itself was predominantly used for the role of social labelling in the development of crime. So it was, like I said, it's a sociology theory, but it can also be put kind of into different categories as well. And when I first learned about it, maybe it was in sociology at college, I can't remember, but it kind of, it just struck a chord with me. And I'll tell you kind of my story and how I think that this labelling theory positively influenced me. So I was quite active as a kid, but like as a young kid, like primary, junior school, I don't really remember much. You know, I wasn't in any organised sport. There probably wasn't that many opportunities available for us at that age. But when we did the first competitive sports day, first year of junior school, I remember sitting next to my friend in assembly and Sophie, and she said to me, "You've won sports day." Because of the sports day presentation, I was like, "No, I haven't." She said, "You have." I snuck a look at Mrs. Collins's bit of paper and I saw your name on it. You came first. I was like, "Are you sure?" "I don't think so." She's like, "Yeah, you did." Anyway, so the teacher read out the names and I came first. Total surprise.
Well done.
Got up to go on the stage, got a little medal. I couldn't believe it. So I was proud as punch, like won my first sports day. And then when the next year came around, thinking, oh, I won last year, should try a little bit harder this year. Tried a little bit harder and I won again. Anyway, this went on for the whole of junior school. So you can imagine by the time I got to fourth year juniors, it was kind of almost expected of my year that I was going to win the girls' sports day. So, you know, and I wasn't a very kind of particularly cool kid at school. But this kind of sporting identity almost kind of became me, or I became it, because of people talking about me winning sports day. And it felt quite nice and I liked it. So when I went on to secondary school, we had a taster day at my secondary school, you know, where you go for the whole day and you have a look around and you do a little bit of this lesson, a little bit of that. And we had a PE class and we did our school cross country, which we all actually knew about from junior school. Massive secondary school, Acklam Grange in Middlesbrough, if anyone knows it. And we had this big cross country, like through the woods, over the beck, over the field. Oh, it was huge. And I kind of felt like, you know, I had a little bit of something to prove. So I really, I ran my socks off and I won on our taster day. And this was like against, I can't remember how many, but, you know, there were 60 kids in my primary year group. And my secondary school was huge. So there was, you know, hundreds of kids in my year group. And then that was it. That was me. So I thought, well, I must be good at sport then. And that just became my kind of identity and something that I lived up to and really enjoyed. And it just kind of felt like it was me. And then last year, junior school, had a huge growth spurt. I literally have only grown 1 inch since I was 10 years old. I grew to 5'7".
That's hilarious.
I was like a beanpole, like so skinny, just absolute giant compared to all my friends.
No coordination all of a sudden.
No, they used to call me Bambi. Honestly, they used to call me Bambi at netball. But obviously, because I was that tall and I was so young, everyone, family, everyone who met me, oh, she's only 10, oh, she's only 11, oh, she's going to play basketball, she's going to play netball. So, obviously I already had that kind of idea that, well, I'm quite, maybe I'm all right at sport. So as soon as I went to secondary school, I sought out the netball team, netball trials, went for trials, and then kind of that was me really. So we must have had like loads of teams in year 7. It's like, and then by the time you get to like year 9, there's probably only 2 or 3 teams left in our year group. But I think by about year 8, I probably wasn't very good at netball to start with. I never played it at junior school or basketball. Year 8, I became the first team captain. 13, I joined Grangetown Netball Club, and then the rest is kind of history, playing the top 10 netball clubs in the country. And it's just kind of when you stop and do like a little bit of self-reflection and look back, and I think, was that the catalyst for me, age 8, sitting in assembly? And it's funny that I remember the exact moment as well. I don't remember all the other sports day presentations at all, but I remember that first one.
And how it is, because it's totally shaped your life as well, isn't it?
Like, exactly, yeah, in a positive way. So everybody, like, kind of, I almost want to say everybody made me into who I am, but just hearing people think that you are good at something and saying that you're good at something, like, it's amazing what a difference that can
what strength
have on
you
your
can
life.
kind of get from that as well,
and confidence.
And the issue also on the flip side of that is that it can be so negative as well. So not that I had any real beef at school with people, but I was rubbish at sports. I would never be good for anything at sports, and that kind of shaped my whole and maybe it's a bit deep to say, is that why I don't commit to now being a fitness in the is what I do enough to say that I'm a bit of a fitness bunny or whatever, like. So it can work on the flip side, but amazing that it's worked and shaped your life to make it what it is today in such a positive way. And I think that's what it is. I think it's instilling confidence in you by saying those words, by having that label, if it's a positive label. Someone says to you, you can't run for shit, then obviously you're probably never going to admit that you're a runner, because you know that you run like Phoebe or Friends. Do you know what I mean? So, but it is such a good kind of thing. And self-fulfilling prophecy, that's just, we need to talk about that, Vic, on a different podcast.
We should do a whole podcast on that, definitely.
Totally, because it does change how you think. And I think that almost is like, if you've got that end goal, that helps to kind of say, I will do this, I am going to do that, I am going to be that person. And then if you add community into that, or the problem is with community is that as a new exerciser, as someone who maybe doesn't have the competence to label them as that sportsman or that athlete or whatever, probably might decide not to go straight and look for a community within that sport, if you know what I mean, because it's a big step, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So, but I think, identifying that I think every sport, like, I've never ran past anyone and thought anything negative, and I don't think normal, nice people do, and the people that do are idiots. And, everyone just thinks, God, like, good on them. And but having such a positive kind of effect on your life is amazing. Luckily I didn't listen to him. And I just did what I wanted to do anyway. That's so funny.
So kind of thinking about the whole discussion, like, around when do we say we are what we're doing, like, what do you think, like, the final overall thing is? It like, not comparing yourself to other people?
What I wanted to talk about was social media. However much good it also has this bad, that you're comparing yourself to other people all the time. You're comparing your runs to their runs, and you don't know what they're training for. You don't know if that's a steady run or if it's an interval run. Like, don't compare yourself to anyone, because it's not their... that's their story and this is your story. And just because they sometimes portray something, I'm talking very loosely about, it could be anyone, do you know what I mean? It could be someone comparing the run to mine, where they must think, great, I'm an amazing runner, because if they're comparing to my, like, 5k that I'm just absolutely broken from CrossFit from, then or even then, I'm not the best runner anyway, but if you're comparing yourself to someone's highlights reels, and this is what I always say about social media, is that that's your highlights reels. Not many people show the actual truth of, you know, people aren't going to post the old rubbish runs, are they?
No. Yeah, I really like that definition of highlights reel, because that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you know what? People don't always tell the truth on social media.
No.
Like, and we should take it with like a bit of a pinch of salt, really.
Particularly in the bodybuilding industry, when there's so much steroids about, you know, like to get that perfect selfie. How much, I'm not saying everyone's into it, but how much steroids have they taken to get in that condition, and then how many pictures have they actually took to get that one picture? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and lighting, I don't have time for that. And makeup and all sorts.
But yeah, just because someone else portrays that they're maybe doing better than you are doesn't mean that they are, and you might have something that they don't have. With bodybuilding, you know, it's a lot about, it's so aesthetically driven. And it's not just about the muscle mass, it's how you appear on stage. If your hair looks shiny, if you look smiley and stuff like that, which when I look at it, it's quite shallow really, but that's the sport, I suppose, and the category that I went into, but not that I like treated my hair or anything. But like, it's that comparison that you shouldn't really do, because if we didn't have social media, if you were just heading on your own path, I think you would probably be a lot more successful, because you're just digging deep, doing it your way, you know, doing the best that you can do, unless you're competitive, which then it could work in your favour. So, but it's, in kind of concluding that whole conversation, I think if you have the confidence to label it, label it. If you don't have the confidence to label it, try and label it, and you might get some good from it, because realistically no one's going to kind of call you out, are they?
No. Final note, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, because that's what we're all doing, Vic.
Yeah, we don't know how to do a podcast.
Thank God for Cade.
I know.
When I was listening to a podcast this week, it was like, I don't know whether it'll kill like me for saying this. Cade is obviously who is editing the podcast, but they all talk about the producers and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, is Cade like our producer? Or is a producer someone who tells you what to say? Because he definitely doesn't do that.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him. He'll be making us credit him as the producer next week.
Yeah. Or maybe not. I'd be like, no, I'm not taking responsibility for those words that you said. Yeah, but it's good to explore these things, whether or not we come out with an answer at the end of it. It's interesting to think about, because everyone comes up with different ideas, and you know, if you're listening to this and you've got a different idea, a different story, then get in touch. TS12pod@gmail.com. That's right, isn't it, Vic?
I think so. I didn't write it down this week.
So yeah, get in touch if you've got any ideas, but I say own it. If you've got the confidence to do it, own it. See where it gets you, and fake it till you make it.
Definitely.
Right, shall we move on?
We shall, yeah.
Because this is quite a big one as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So crushing the BS, obviously the bullshit. Hopefully there's no children listening while you're cooking in your kitchen. So this week's BS is there a right or wrong way to diet and exercise? So for instance, oh my God, there's this amazing exercise that you put bands around your legs and you pump your legs like a frog and it grows your booty. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Is that what you were thinking, Vic?
Yeah. Something like that. I can't quite picture what you mean. But,
you know, like...
the inner thigh thing at the gym. Yeah,
like
hate that machine.
Inner thigh, but if you use a band, because we're in lockdown, no one's got the inner thigh. Use a band, pump your legs like a frog, almost.
Yes.
It's called the frog pump. Nice. Good vision for you all there. So yeah, is there a right or wrong way to diet or exercise? For exercise, I would say that you've got to think of what your goal is. What is the purpose of what you are doing? Are you trying to achieve a fat loss? A lot of people kind of say, just train the quads, train your quads because it's the biggest muscle in the body and that's going to cause the most energy burn. But realistically, is it? Like if you're kind of like boxing with your arms and your heart rate is much higher than just doing squats because you're training your quads, then obviously you're going to burn more calories boxing. So there is a lot of rubbish out there, and what you've got to do is rein it all in, think about what your goal is, what the purpose is of what you're doing. We're seeing a lot of weird and wonderful exercises right now on the internet.
Yeah.
So I got one of the girls messaged the other day and was like, so how do I do this? And I was like, why do you need to do that? Well, because, you know, my favourite person says that you should do it. And so basically you need to work out what your goal is.
Yeah.
If it is fat loss, for example, exercise, then increasing your muscle mass will increase your metabolic rate. So long term, that is, obviously not just in that session, and cardio as well will help. So a bit of both, really, I think. If you're exercising and your goal is to tone up, what's the point in doing squats if you want better bingo wings? Do you know what I mean? So yes, there is a wrong and a right way to exercise and to diet, but you've got to decide what you're doing it for and make sure that it works towards that goal. That's my kind of take on the exercise thing. Just work towards your goal. Fat loss is obviously just a calorie deficit, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say that I think the goal thing is really important. Like you've already said, it is there, but like how can you even plan anything or do anything if you don't know where you're heading towards?
Totally.
Don't be a floaty gym goer.
Yeah, just went in the gym, did a bit. I mean, I can't really knock them because it's what makes them happy, but getting advice, I would say, if you don't know, get a little bit of advice. And I'm not saying get that from us, but don't just like waste your time, waste your energy looking at random stuff on the internet. Get something specific for you. Get a little bit of advice. And, you know, like that's what we're hoping to offer on this. So get in touch if you want some advice. Because, you know, although we do this as a job, I personally just like to help people as well. I hate to think that people are going in the gym and they're lost and they're just doing something for the sake of some random person doing it on the internet. Like I said before, when it comes to diet, there is a right and a wrong way to diet. I personally think that someone who loves loads of variation in the diet, like you, Vic, if I put you on a food plan that was a list of foods that I think you should eat because I enjoy them and that's my kind of favourite foods, but I've worked out how many calories are in that plan and that will help you achieve your goal. Say you in fat loss, I've worked out what your calorie deficit will be because of how much energy you're burning with your training in your everyday life. If I give you a diet plan, that's wrong for you because that's not how you eat, is it? Can you imagine?
No. And like food has to be, for me,
enjoyable.
like it has to be enjoyable, like why you can still eat healthily without eating awful food, can't you?
Totally. And I think a lot of the problem is when it comes to diet is that people try and strive for perfection too soon. Like you can't go from eating Parmos or pizzas for those who aren't from the north or Teesside, and you can't go from eating pizzas to all of a sudden eating kale and, you know, like...
Yeah. Your taste buds won't like you for that.
No, and mentally it's just so like, why do it to yourself? It's much better to change your diet through macro tracking or just making small changes to your diet every week or every couple of weeks, positive changes, healthier changes, keeping in mind that not all healthy air quote foods are less calorific if fat loss is your goal. Filling up on bread as a calorie surplus when you're trying to build muscle, you know, like there's better choices out there. Although I love bread, and bread is no food is the demon, by the way. No food is negative in my eyes.
No.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Vic?
What is I went to write down what you said, but I've forgotten how you worded it. What is macro counting? Is that what you said?
Macro tracking. So macro tracking. So basically, if I take a client and they're like, right, let's go the other way to what most people would want. I want to gain muscle mass. So first of all, I would want to put them in a calorie surplus. So I would want to make sure that they're eating enough calories for their body to function, depending on their everyday lifestyle. And then I would want to add a little bit more to make sure that they've got the energy to push their training, to have progressive overload within their training, to change their muscle and to grow their muscle. So if they ate all potatoes, or if they ate all eggs, just eggs, and they needed to eat, say, 3,000 calories, if they were eating all just eggs, they're not going to have the energy from carbohydrates, which is your first macro, or one of three. They're going to have all the protein from the eggs. They'll probably not be able to go to the toilet, but and they're not going to have. They will have fat actually, because eggs contain fat, so they will cover. So fat, carbs, and protein are your three macros. There's obviously other things that you need in your diet, which is fibre, vitamins, and minerals. So, but most people don't just count their calories, they actually look at counting their macros to make sure that they're getting enough protein to maintain or build their muscle mass. Because a lot of people just diet, and there's especially a lot of fad diets out there that say there's loads of free foods, and the majority of them are carbohydrates. So they're probably filling up on free foods and not getting enough protein, for instance. Not that you need excess protein, but you need to make sure you're getting the right amount of protein, fat and carbohydrates. That's a whole other quash the BS that we need to cover. But yeah, if you can commit to macro tracking, then that's great, because you're going to get a healthy, balanced diet. But that's a lot for some people, especially some people who are moving from one kind of extreme diet to then all of a sudden, right, well, I've got to now weigh this out. So some people start on just literally like making small changes. Some people go straight into just calorie counting, and then we try and make positive changes within their food diary using MyFitnessPal, for instance. And then some people go for macro tracking. But yeah, I think looking back at that whole imposter syndrome thing is that a lot of people, when they do start doing this to an extreme, or macro tracking, not even an extreme, but macro tracking, this is what bodybuilders do. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you're not doing anything differently to what they're doing. They're just maybe doing it for a bit longer, or... Yeah. So I think there is a right and a wrong way, but it's what's right or what's wrong for you. Like I say, giving you a food plan would be wrong for you. And as well, take into consideration what you've done in the past. If you've been like, right, I'm going to do the 5-2, I mean, God forbid, I'm going to do this 800 calorie day. Did it work when you did it before? Because why are you having to do it again? Like, would you not rather make positive, healthier changes slowly and steadily and kind of have long-term success? If the plan is obviously... fat loss, obviously there's a lot of different goals in terms of diet. So yeah, I think there is a wrong and right way to do it, but there's a lot of options out there which you can explore, and it depends how serious you want to take it, how much time you've got to take it seriously. But once you do it, I mean, it's easy. You start to even understand portion sizes and things like that. That's one thing that is most difficult for the majority of people when it comes to fat loss, is portion size.
Well, so about like sorry, that's all right. Thinking about like food and like staying on that kind of subject. So, I really want to be that person who, and going back to the whole social media thing, who can on a Sunday prep like boxes and boxes of meals for the whole week, and then there's all my healthy food. And like, I actually really envy those people that can take the time and the effort to do that. But I don't do it.
Why do you want to do it just so it looks amazing in your fridge?
Well, I just want to make things a little bit easier for myself. And that's the main thing. Like, I'd love to, so on a, like normally when we're not in lockdown, on a Tuesday and Thursday, I tend to spend like most of the day, if not all the day, over at the Arm Studio. But actually what I do when I'm there is I go to like the local cafe that I always go to. They do loads of nice healthy food. I get like avocado wraps and avocado on sourdough and, you know, the usual...
hipster food.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, hipster food. It's delicious, absolutely delicious. I get my
not doing it just for your Instagram.
My almond milk hot chocolate. But I just think, wouldn't it be easier? I might have more time to work if I actually prepared my food and took it with me instead. But having said that, I'm almost talking myself out of it because I really enjoy kind of going somewhere other than work for like an hour to sit and have something to eat and
that's the thing. Why would you want to eat out Tupperware when you can have this lovely experience you've just discussed?
I know.
Like,
I know.
That's part of it. It's part of your social.
Yeah, it is. It is. It does look good though. Maybe
It
one
does look
day
good.
I might post a picture.
I did a whole prep on bodybuilding, a whole prep of competition on Marks and Spencer's Count on Us meals because I was working loads. I mean, they're full of salt, but I love salt. I was working loads, I had kids, and it was just easier for me to pick a meal than it was to think about like creating a low-calorie meal. Yeah, totally went off cooking for a while. Dean hated it. But it worked for me at that time, and I think that's what it is. It's like what works for you at that time. You know, like how be kind to yourself, kind of like if that works, then who is it up to kind of demonise what you're doing? Because there's nothing wrong with it. It's still food, it's still energy. You're still getting vegetables. Whether or not they're full of nutritional value because of the way they're being handled is a different story. But is it working towards your goal? I think what it comes down to is what is your goal. And yes, there's a wrong and a right way to do things with exercise and with diet. But if you've got a clear goal, then you can start to make things work towards your goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
there's no right way, there's no wrong way.
Yeah. And I think you know, thinking about the whole how we actually started this, which was, you know, is there a right and a wrong way to diet and to exercise? I think if anyone kind of does have any questions, you know, you've said before, they can just get in touch with us. Like, you know a lot about nutrition and macro tracking and you know, training, PT, and then obviously I've got the whole Pilates, yoga background and the sport kind of athletic background as well. So again, like if anyone does have any questions, we are ts12pod@gmail.com. Send us an email.
Although they might not want to, because I've just said there is a right and a wrong way, and then 2 seconds later I said there's no right or wrong way. So they might not believe we know what we're talking about, Vic. Well, me.
That's all right.
Thinking about you, like your food is very healthy. You love all kind of nutritious food. You do like this kind of hipster food.
I love it.
Obviously, it's just like normal food. It's not. We shouldn't label these things, should we? Or maybe that's why they're so successful, because they're labelled as hipster food. Figure that one out. But you prefer a much higher kind of fat diet, don't you, than carbs? Sorry, do you mind me saying this?
No, not at all.
And that's a thing. Carbs aren't the devil. Carbs are our main energy source. And I know there's a lot of fad diets out there that are higher fat, but when it comes to it, if I said to you, which I have in the past, Vic, this is how many carbs you should be eating, you're like, no, that isn't going to work for me, because I just miss that fat foods. I'd rather use my calories, because the reason why a lot of diets cut fat out is because there's more calories per gram of fat than there is carbohydrates and protein. So for every gram of protein, protein and carbs, there's only 4 calories, whereas fat, there's 9 calories. So that's why most people cut fat out. Keto, which don't even get me started on, it's horrific. Like, can't even go there. Feel a bit good that I've mentioned it, but that's a really high fat diet, and it's a calorie deficit. That's all you need. If it's fat loss, it's a calorie deficit. If you're building muscle, of course you need carbs. So yeah, you could possibly hinder your match by having much more higher fat meal than an actual carb meal, because you get more energy. But then, is it realistic to do that? Because that's not how you like to eat. Obviously at athlete level, and when you're looking at, you know, people carbing up for races and things like that, then they do take it a lot more seriously. But what you've got to decide is, where are you? How serious do you want to take it? Like, is calorie counting just good enough for you right now? And I'm a bit on one, because I was on a nutritional call last night with Zoom, so I'm a bit like,
So Marie, what we're saying is Maricarmen's going to answer any nutritional based questions. send us an email.
Yeah, thanks. Done. Next.
Okay, so we've got our wishful sponsor coming up next, which is one of our final features. So, Maz, will you explain again, please, just because you've got a better description than I have, what this wishful sponsor is for?
Well, I think you put it perfectly. This is the people that we want to sponsor the podcast so we get free stuff.
Oh, okay, great, yeah.
So what's yours? Have you got one?
I have got one this week. I'm going to tell you, and I'm a total copier, so I hope you haven't put the same. But because we talked about food and, I don't really like going to the supermarket and standing in queues at the minute. So ordering online is a little bit easier.
Brill.
Have I stolen yours? So I've said...
No, but there's a lot of offers on Amazon on chocolate and stuff, so...
Oh, no, so I've said HelloFresh. So a couple of days ago, I ordered a box, 50% off.
Wow.
And then 35% off the following 3 boxes. So I've selected a vegetarian one, 2 people. And they're not coming next week, it's the week after. So HelloFresh, for anyone who doesn't know, is a company that delivers the ingredients and recipe cards for meal plans. So basically, they tell you how to prepare it. We keep all the recipe cards, well, most of the ones that are nice meals anyway. I'm not a great cook, but I do love these HelloFresh meals. So we've got some coming, not next week, but the week after. So that's mine for today.
Well, I checked them out a couple of weeks ago and they weren't delivering to new people or people that have come back after a while because of Corona. So you were lucky there.
Oh, right. Well, we have ordered them off them before, but this was classed as a new order because my email address hasn't been used before. Oh, that was lucky then. It was only
you were really lucky.
Maybe Wednesday that I did it, so you should try. Yeah,
I might give it a go actually. Although my wishful sponsor this week is a recipe book that I've just bought, and it's called Max. I think it's Halley. Is that Halley?
Hall. Yeah, Halley. Yeah,
Halley.
I would say so. Halley.
Max Halley sandwich book. Amazing. So
a sandwich book.
Just brilliant sandwiches. It caught my eye when he created a sandwich, and it was fish fingers with.
I hate fish fingers.
I'm sorry. Fish fingers with scampi fries in. It's like your worst nightmare.
I do like scampi fries, but I don't like fish fingers.
So it's the most amazing recipe book. Like, it's got what crisps you should buy to put in your sandwiches. So it's not really that healthy. He's got a restaurant in London. Can you call it a sandwich? It's got a sandwich shop in London. And he just makes these amazing sandwiches. So I bought his recipe book and there's some amazing ones in there. Like, one had... God, I'm like really, showing off how healthy I am right now, aren't I? One had like bacon, peanut butter and potato waffles in.
One sandwich?
Yes. So he likes every sandwich to be a meal. So obviously we had this fish finger and scampi fries sandwich for our tea one night. Because I'm just that good at cooking. Yeah, amazing. And he actually has recently done a piece in a newspaper, and it tells you how to make the best toasty. So check it out. If you just search him on social, you'll find him. So I'd love for him to sponsor me, and I would also like Cadbury's, Curly Whirlies or Crunchies to sponsor me, because Curly Whirlies are only 100 calories. If you put them in the freezer, they're unreal. They take about an hour to chew, so you can get through a whole episode of something without having to go back to the fridge. Or Crunchies, if you get the packet of 4, they're only 150 calories. I can't stop going on about it. I look forward to it every night. They're amazing.
I'm jealous now because yours is better than mine. I want some free chocolate.
This really, I should go back to the whole, like, is there a good or bad diet? Moderation, yeah.
Moderation. That is the key.
Yeah, it is the key. And calorie balance. So I do track. Every night I track a Crunchie or a Curly Whirly right now because I'm being good. Normally, if I'm not being good, I don't even think about tracking. But yeah, I've tracked a gin and tonic and a Crunchie, and I look forward to that all day, you see. So
well, there you go.
A little treat. So yeah, those are my wishful sponsor. Free sandwiches would be amazing, please.
Fab. Okay, so our last bit is our grand finale, although hang on, what have we called it? I've just put grand finale. We called it something else last week. Happy grand finale.
You say finale, I say finale. That different areas of Teesside.
Happy grand finale. Okay, so shall I go first?
Yeah, go first.
Oh no, you're going to go first. You go first. Yeah, I went first last time.
Okay. So I was going to talk about Zoom fails. I had the best Zoom fail this week. It was amazing.
I might be able to
Are you going to trump
beat
me?
you. Yeah, go on. You say yours.
I can't say it because it was with a client. But it wasn't even a fail. It was just funny. So I'm not going to say it. And then I thought about my Zoom fail, which obviously I can say. But something else happened, which was way bigger than that this week. And that was my biggest parenting fail that I've ever done. Probably a bit too much information. But last night I was on a Zoom call with work and it went smooth, thank God. And then as I walked upstairs, I walked into my own ensuite, my own bathroom, for me and Dean, not for the kids. I'm a fool to think that I have any space in this house. And I walked in and everything's all right, so don't panic. And that's why I'm kind of smiling about it. But my 3/nearly 4-year-old next week decided to eat all of my contraceptive pill. Yeah.
Oh, my word.
I know. That is my life, Vic. So obviously, this was like 8 o'clock at night. I was just like past myself. He was asleep in bed and ran downstairs. I was like, where's my pill? And Dean was like, I don't know. So we ended up having to wake Wilder up because we assumed it was Wilder because he's the crazy one. And he just like came out of bed like half asleep and he was just like, what?
Oh.
We were like, where is this? Anyway, discovered after about half an hour that of talking to him that he had in fact swallowed them all.
Oh my word.
And yeah, 111, all that palaver. Luckily, straight away they said that it's not dangerous, it's not toxic. So he was fine, just keep an eye on him. No gastro issues, no sickness or anything like that until it came to bath time tonight. And just before I was about to start recording this podcast, I got a shout to go and wipe his bum, as you do when you've got a 3-year-old. And went to wipe his bum. Gross, I know. And discovered that, it'd come through and it happened on the floor and I didn't realise and it was all over and I'd stepped in it and it was just gross. So I'm sorry to anyone that's eating the tea, but the parenting fail is do not leave medication around. And just, try and be a better parent really, because I feel horrific that, thank God it wasn't poisonous and he's all right. But yeah, if you think you're failing at parenting right now, then I'm pretty sure that I'm doing a better job at parenting.
I'm not even going to bother with my Zoom fail now. Just
I've
pills in
trumped
comparison. You've trumped me, yeah.
No, go on, I want to know.
Oh, well, in a class of like loads of people, I said to somebody like, oh, are you okay? And Siri on my watch thought I asked if he was gay and piped up with, no, I don't have any sexual orientation, thank you. Really loud.
Did everyone hear it on the call?
I was just like this, sorry, it was just Siri. And like a few people like glanced up and it was so embarrassing.
And if they didn't hear it then they're going to listen to this and no. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
He's piped up a few times in my classes.
Really?
But that was the worst thing he said. Normally he just says, I don't understand that. But yeah, this time, I don't have a sexual orientation, thank you.
For all they know, it could have been like someone in the background shouting at you.
I know.
Oh, that's so funny, Vic.
That was funny.
That's a good Zoom fail. I might tell them about my Zoom fails next week. There's probably more to come, to be fair.
Yeah,
Let's hope that I get hold of my parenting before next week and I've got lighter news.
Okay, so my happy grand finale is something I've been watching on Netflix, which I just love. I heard about it loads, but I didn't watch it.
Tiger King.
What did you say? No, I've seen that. That's great. I definitely recommend that as well. No, this is kind of, and it's a little bit relevant to what we've been talking about tonight. So it's The Last Dance. I don't know if you've seen it, about the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan.
It's like in the top 10, right?
Yeah, it's really, really good. Is it? Yeah, it's really good. But I'm up to date now, so I have to wait another week before, or the 11th, Wednesday 11th, a few days before the next 2 episodes are released. But it's really good. It's very inspirational. If you like basketball, it's even better. And it's kind of, especially with everything that we've been talking about to do with motivation. So if you need a little bit of inspiration, you should watch it. It's really good.
Oh, really? Does it kind of get you?
Yeah, well, it kind of focuses. So it's about the last. It's called The Last Dance. It's the Chicago Bulls basketball team gave a documentary crew full access for the whole year to their whole squad, coaching, management, everything. And this is what the documentary is. And it focuses around Michael Jordan, who is their best player.
Yeah.
And it's possibly his last year. It's definitely the coach's last year, possibly other players' last year. It's just really interesting how it all kind of pans out. It's really good.
Do you know what? I wasn't going to watch that because it didn't look like my thing, but I'm going to give it a go.
Obsessively competitive, like to levels probably beyond healthy.
Michael
as well.
Jordan?
Yeah. But it's really good. Yeah, you should watch it. It's brilliant.
Oh, right. I'm going to give it a go. We can't,
Yeah.
well, I say we need something. We're on about 10 different things at the moment because remember when there was only like 5 channels and you didn't have any choice, 4 channels even, you had no choice and you still watched it.
Yeah.
Now we're just like flitting between it all. But I did look at that and I think, more appropriate for my story with the parenting fail is probably something called Working Mums on Netflix, which is just funny and all about parenting fails. So yeah, check that one out as well. So shall I explain what's going on next week, Vic?
Yes, please.
So next week we're going to explore what exercise does for you, more obvious than the general kind of improvements of health, the endorphins, how it can change your body aesthetically. And so we're going to look at how important it is for you to be in tune with your body from a young age, how we can help future generations, and just look into more what we get from exercise. This is really interesting because it's something that I've been exploring a lot with my son, who's 7, Jesse, from a kind of sensory point of view, and it's kind of changed the way that I look at exercise, and it's definitely something that we need to discuss, Vic, because although we are in the same industry, we kind of see exercise from a completely different point of view. Maybe not from your personal point of view, but from your professional point of view, being more into Pilates and yoga and me more into kind of weight training stuff, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. No, I think it'll be hopefully a really interesting discussion.
Just more questions. I've just got to have more questions.
Yeah.
And you're going to answer them. So yeah, I think that's kind of rounded up. I think one last thing that I need to ask, because I ask all my clients and we always talk about it, and I don't know why we haven't talked about it on the podcast, is what are you having for your tea?
Well, I wish I could say something a bit more exciting. I've actually already had it.
Oh, nice.
Because I was so hungry and didn't really have a proper lunch today. You know, we're so good at nutrition. But
I've just talked about crunches.
I had a small cheese noodle and quiche from Real Meals in Saltburn, which is absolutely delicious. And I made some pasta and spinach in like a sun-dried tomato sauce to go with it.
Oh, lovely.
It's very nice.
So are you going to have anything tonight?
Yeah, well, I'm still hungry now. I had it about what time? I must have had it about 5 o'clock.
So it's like, sorry, listeners, it's like 7 o'clock right now, 7 p.m.
Yeah, so I'll probably be having a second tea. But we've got no food in, which is why I've ordered the HelloFresh. But that doesn't come for another week, so.
Oh, no.
I don't know what I'm going to have, but I'm going to need something. I'm hungry.
Oh, the cereal.
Oh, yeah,
No.
I don't like cereal.
No. I am having Jamie Oliver's Spanish chicken. You can get it on his website. It's basically you get a chicken breast, you shove parsley and a lemon up its bum, and you chop loads of potatoes up, put them in a tray, stick the chicken on top, chop up chorizo, and stick it in the oven and forget about it. And then you kind of make this, I want to say gremolata, is that right? I haven't looked at the recipe in a long time because it's kind of, I know what it is. So you basically then get the juice of a lemon, chop parsley, I think it is, and garlic, and you mix it all together with a bit of olive oil, and then you sprinkle it all on top. Maybe some lemon zest.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and it makes the potatoes, like for vegetarians, if you're not into that, even just putting paprika on your potatoes. And then when your potatoes, your roasted are really nice and hot, you sprinkle this over, and the smell is amazing.
Well, you made me hungry now.
I'm sorry. So yeah, that's what we're having. And I can smell it cooking now. So
oh, very nice.
I'm hoping that Sonic the Hedgehog movie has finished, which is keeping the kids quiet with the Starburst sweets that they were eating, because it takes so long for them to unwrap them. So I get a lot of peaceful time out of that. Yeah. So
cool.
Thank you as ever. We are forever grateful to Kate for sorting out this podcast for us. Without him, this would not be possible. So thank you very much. And we listened to the first one today, didn't we, Vic? And cringed ourselves out and picked ourselves to pieces. So we apologise if you find us as annoying as what we find ourselves, which I'm sure is pretty hard to do. So yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
It is, yep.
So thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for listening to last week's. If you did check it out, we hope you did enjoy today's show, and you enjoy the rest of your day, whatever time it is, whatever you've got left of your day. Have a great week and stay safe and look after each other. Thanks very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye. Smashed it!